CBS News national security correspondent David Martin. Good morning. Good to have you here, David. President Zelensky in that press conference said weapons transfers have picked up in their pace from the United States, but he also said he expects Secretaries Austin and Blinken to arrive with something more for him. Do you know what that is?
Well, weapons are going into Ukraine today. I asked and was told that there are no weapons on the particular train taking Austin and Blinken into Ukraine. But there's clearly this race on to arm the Ukrainians in time for this coming battle. And the U.S. is shipping 90 of these 155 millimeter howitzers into Ukraine, but that's only half of what the Ukrainians need. The Ukrainians have their own artillery, but it's a smaller caliber. So the the U.S. is asking all sorts of countries who have that smaller caliber to provide it to the Ukrainians. But these countries are not like the U.S. with these vast arsenals. When you ask them to give up their artillery, that's a big ask. But the race to arm the Ukrainians with heavy artillery is probably going to decide the outcome of this coming battle in the East. And of course, it looks like the coming battle in the East is going to decide the outcome of the war, so high stakes.
And time seems to be of the essence there. When it comes to what the United States has admitted it is transferring to the Ukrainians, the types of weapons continue to change. Are they still parsing what will provoke Putin? You know, are they still sort of saying there are things we cannot do?
They certainly give every weapon system, a clear scrub for will this cross his red line. The problem is nobody knows what his red line is. The Russians sent this diplomatic note warning, don't send quote unquote sensitive weapons because they will produce unpredictable consequences. Who knows what they consider a sensitive weapon? Probably not an artillery piece. But on that list of weapons provided last week, there was something called the Phoenix Ghost Tactical Unmanned Aerial Systems, and I'm reading it off a list here because last week was the first time I'd ever heard of this thing. It's a classified program. We can't show a picture of it because there is no picture, but this is a kamikaze drone which flies out, looks around for a target, finds one, and dives on the target to kill it. Now, the U.S. has already given the Ukrainians about 700 smaller switchblade kamikaze drones. These have a bigger warhead. These have a longer range. Will these be the weapons that cross Putin's red line? Who knows? But there is a dangerous dynamic going on here, which is the worse Putin does, the more dangerous he gets.
And if he gets backed into a corner, as you have said, the question is, what does he then do? The UK has said that the Russians haven't really fully reorganized and resupplied. Do Ukrainians have an advantage at this moment?
Well, they certainly have a fighting chance. The battlefield rule of thumb is the attacker needs a 3-to-1 advantage over the defender, and Russia tries for a 7-to-1 advantage, and they just don't have those kind of numbers. Beyond that, we've been talking for weeks about all the shortcomings of the Russian military. Poor morale, poor command and control, poor logistics. Those are not the kind of problems you solve in a few weeks. An American defense secretary once said, you go to war with the army you have.
Right.
And the war that Russia is going to go with in eastern Ukraine is essentially the army that went to war in northern Ukraine and which failed to take Kyiv. Just to give you one example, they're trying to encircle the Ukrainian army.
Right.
To do that, some units have to travel 100 miles in order to get in the rear of the Ukrainian army.
So they've got
in the offensive against Kyiv, they overran their supply lines at 60 miles.
David Martin, great analysis. Thank you.
Sure thing.